Hi everyone, the Lone Wolf here and welcome back to the Sunday Recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. 3 games this week, so I managed to play a decent amount, but it also dropped off at the later part of the week. So let's start with EVE Online. It follows that pattern. In the first half of the week I managed to play a decent amount. I was quite motivated, especially to try and expand the skilling spree with an experiment in lowsec and nullsec to see what it would be like to have to go after some targets there. And I felt like it was quite fun, quite doable, and so with that Tech 1 Tristan, I think it was also decently representative even for newer players to try and get that going. Now CCP has decided on a different route when it comes to creating extra challenge around the skilling spree, which at the moment feels rather limited. I mean, you just undock, kill a rat, get 10,000 SP. That's what you get most of the time. It's not really the most engaging way of bringing in like daily missions or something like that to the game. But CCP has decided to go with a sort of a timed trial that you have to film yourself. I think it's basically like a little side project for the community team. It is decently interesting, but it has one big drawback, I think, is that the player that will invest the most will be the most likely to win here. So you can already imagine a pretty easy tactic: invest in the best implants, invest in the best possible fittings for fast warp speed and super fast locking, and then just put down a structure exactly at the needed distance from like a belt, and that's it. Wait for the rat to come in, tag it first, get the structure down, and then, you know, get that one shot as quickly as possible on film. I think that's how most players are gonna try this, and I'm honestly not really going to compete there, because getting like that full set of implants for the max warp speed and all of that stuff, I don't think it is really worth the investment for a couple million skill points, which is also only for a couple of players. So yeah, not sure why CCP is going that route rather than trying to find a way to make it more engaging for everyone when it comes to the skilling spree. After that I also did a little bit of exploration, so that was going decently well, got a couple of good drops as well, but I must be honest, in the later part of the week I was pretty tired. It's still pretty damn busy at my real life job, and so there I played a little bit less, just got a couple of anomaly sessions in where I basically loot everything and salvage everything. You can just sit there, engage your salvage drones, and they do all the work for you. That's what I tend to do if I want to put a little bit more time into EVE Online and still get something done. But overall, yeah, it dropped off a little bit at the tail end of the week. I didn't even notice that CCP put in the new taxes when it comes to trading in EVE Online, and that's really where I'm most curious when it comes to the game. What is CCP planning to do in the upcoming weeks when it comes to the Chaos era? It is pretty exciting, and well, I was kind of thinking, are they taking like a little bit of a break? Because in the dev blog, I'm really pretty sure that they said the taxes were coming to CC first. So I thought, well, we'll have a look at that. You know, they're also changing how the skills work, or at least the percentages that they do compared to the taxes and all of that good stuff. So I thought that they would wait for like the next monthly release before they would bring that to the game. But nope, turns out that they're already there. We're paying up to 10% in the worst case in an NPC station for trading. That is heavily incentivizing people to go to player-owned trade hubs, and yeah, we'll see what CCP's next step is, of course. The Chaos era is here, so we're gonna keep a close eye on all of that. Next up, I also played a little bit of Foundation, in fact a decent amount of Foundation I want to say, because I tried to get to basically what is the current end game of the game. It is in development, so there is still stuff that doesn't work, but when it comes to a relaxed city building experience, it is heavily competing with Banished for that relaxed time that I sometimes need and that I usually spend in Banished. I would say there is a big difference when it comes to the two games, especially on the early gameplay. So in Banished, I feel like you do have more options, but the game can be quite punishing and stressful when you try to be creative there. You know, honestly, there are balances that you need to make in Banished in order to just get there. When it comes to Foundation, you are much more on a very set path, because you need to unlock so much stuff in a very specific order that there is little choice as to how you approach your early game in Banished. And so it takes a couple of hours of very straightforward gameplay that you're going to repeat over and over again if you start a new town in Foundation, before you get to that point where you've unlocked most stuff and you can start a more sandboxy experience where you can build up the town that you want. But it is easier compared to Banished. Of course, there is absolutely no risk. Once you've gone through it once, you know exactly what to do, and you know exactly how you're gonna get towards that luxury position where you've got plenty of resources, plenty of people, and you can basically make whatever you want in the game. As I've said, my push last week was to get to that end game, so I made a town and I managed to unlock every single thing that's available at this point, and that's where you come against the current barrier of development. So at this point, for me, the hunter's cabin doesn't work yet. There's also a building that you unlock when it comes to like the military keeps, that you can't build anything from that, and so that still needs a little bit of work. But overall, at this point, the game is fun for a relaxed city building experience, and the replayability is there. You can definitely be creative once you get past that first part of the game, the unlocking part of the game. Basically, it also has a very different feel from Banished, right? You've got, well, different graphics, better graphics, I would say. Yeah, definitely a step up from Banished. And the way it works, of course, is that it's very organic, with the NPCs deciding by themselves where they want to build their own houses. You just basically paint areas for them to do stuff in, and that makes it look completely different from Banished as well. But Foundation has been a lot of fun so far, and at this point I do feel like, all right, I've gotten to those final unlocks. We are here where the development is as well, so I'll have a bit of a wait and see approach when it comes to Foundation. Perhaps we'll pick it up like in a couple of months when they've added more stuff to the game. Which brings me to the third game of last week. It's some more Total War Warhammer 2, where I finally found some time, of course, to play with the Tomb Kings, the DLC that I bought during the Steam summer sale. Very interesting, very different as well. I decided to go with the standard campaign for Total War Warhammer 2 with the big Vortex challenge, which you don't have to do as a Tomb King. You just have to find some sort of tomes, some sort of books in order for you to get to. I don't know what the story is there, as I have yet to discover that, but the faction itself is pretty cool and works in a completely different way from the other factions, especially economically speaking, because their armies don't have upkeeps. Rather, they have limits on how many of the better units you can field, depending on the number of buildings that you have in your different cities. So that does mean that you have to go a different route, but early game they are super strong, because if an army doesn't need upkeep, that means once you get a hero, once you get a new army, you can just put it full of units and you can have a 20 unit army going just like that. And whenever you get to research, because through research you unlock the ability to have extra armies, you just add another one, it's immediately a 20 army, and you just start to stomp through the early game, because the others need that economy. They need to be able to sustain their units with gold. It becomes very costly for them, while you have just a straight path that is slower when it comes to the upgrades of your buildings, but it is steady, and so you become more and more powerful, more and more unstoppable, bigger and bigger armies. And basically at this point in my playthrough, I'm starting to get some tier 4, tier 5 cities with some good buildings for instance, the Bone Giants. Absolutely love them, they're amazing. You can also unlock some Casket of Souls or something like that. Very, very strong artillery. Quite amazing, actually. Regret not having grabbed that every single time it popped up. And then they have some really, really cool big units as well, with the War Sphinx, with the Scorpions, with well, the bigger units. They actually have archers with superior range to the elves. So it is an amazing faction to play with. A lot of fun, and so far actually really powerful, really strong, because of their unique mechanics as well. So you'll get a couple of videos on that. Definitely worth it, especially if you can grab the DLC on sale. It adds a completely different experience to the standard campaign for Total War Warhammer 2. And that was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.